Welcome to AstroDetectives, the show where we try to match our guests to their correct birth chart. As always, we have two charts to choose from, and today, our guest is either a Leo or an Aries. My name is Scott. I'm the Skeptic of Astrology, and I'm joined by my co-host and professional astrologer, Sarah Hartshorn. Sarah, how does a Leo compare with an Aries?
Well, I'm so glad you asked, Scott.
You always are glad. We haven't gotten to a point where you said, I didn't want that question.
Yes. Well, as you may have guessed, these are two fire signs, Scott. And fire signs are very outgoing and passionate and expressive, and they can be very willful. But Aries is a spring sign. It's a cardinal sign. It's the first sign in the zodiac. So they are very willful. They want what they want and they want it right now, but what they want might change tomorrow. Whereas Leo is a fixed sign in the middle of the summer, and it's a lot more stubborn and holding on, to what it wants. And so there's a little difference there. But yeah, Aries is really a sign that is about taking action, jumping in head first, without even, not looking before you leap. And they are very, drawn to like crisis and situations and about taking risks and things. And Leo is a little bit more about being a leader, being loyal, being very expressive. They just are who they are, and they do want a lot of admiration from other people, whereas Aries doesn't really care what other people think of them for the most part. And the Leo is like the performer on the stage that wants recognition from the audience, and Aries is like the
heckler in the crowd.
Oh yeah, maybe. Or I was going to say like a skydiver or, extreme sports that, those are very like, not every Aries or Leo is going to be that way, but that's just like stereotypes of the sign.
Like while the Leo performance is going on, Aries is Mr. Kool-Aid crashing through the wall. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's going to date how old we are if we remember those Mr. Kool-Aid commercials, but that was hilarious.
I thought everybody knows who Mr. Kool-Aid is.
Let us know in the comments. How old do you think we are based on our Mr. Kool-Aid reference?
Wait, is he a Mr.? Kool-Aid Man.
Oh, that's right. Was it Kool-Aid Man? Mr. Kool-Aid?
Oh. I don't know.
We answer the big questions. We ask the big questions on this show. Now, a lot of times people are, we're the novices like myself. We look at just the sun signs. But there's going to be a lot of astrologers listening, and they're going to want to go deeper. They're going to want to know about rising signs, moon signs, and all that kind of stuff. Sarah, where can they get this information so when our guest is answering our questions, they can look a little deeper into their charts?
Well, we have the case files with the charts available on our website, AstroDetectivesPod.com, and we'll have them there in whole sign or Placidus. But if you sign up for our Patreon and become a subscriber, then we will provide you with those case files. We'll email them right to your inbox, and we'll give you some of the data so you can actually just go cast the charts however you like. So that being said, we have our Aries is an Aries sun with a Gemini moon. Gemini moons are very talkative, Scott.
So you have a talkative Kool-Aid man.
Gemini moons, I tell you, I know a few that just don't need to breathe. They just talk. And then a Virgo rising with Saturn right on the ascendant there. So that chart is that Saturn energy, which is really about maturity, and stoicism might really come through if that's the chart. And then our other chart is a Leo with a Leo rising. So not only that, that it puts the sun right in the first house. So this is someone who is going to be really they just are who they are, and what you get is what you get, and they're going to really show up authentically themselves and probably be more comfortable being in the spotlight. And they have a Pisces moon, which is a very sensitive, compassionate, very loving, nice place for the moon. Now, one thing I will say that makes me a little nervous about this Leo chart is the ascendant is at 29 degrees Leo. And normally that would be okay, because sometimes, with birth times, it's usually, if anything, it's an earlier time. But both of these times are rounded times. We have like an 8 a.m. chart and a 6 p.m. chart. And so if this person didn't actually know their exact birth time and they just kind of guessed, there's a chance that this Leo rising could change to a Virgo rising, and then we would have two Virgo risings.
Oh boy.
So there is a little air of mystery there. So I hope that's not the case, but we shall see. I'm going to have to really focus in on some other placements here.
Yeah, because a Aries sun Virgo rising would be a lot different than a Leo sun Virgo rising.
It would be, but it's, I'm not going to get into it right now, but yeah, it would put both these fire suns in hidden houses, and so
hidden houses. I don't think we've gotten into that before.
Yeah. The Aries sun is in the 8th, and then the Leo sun could be a 12th house sun. And if that's the case, you get definitely a dialed down fire sign. It's not as out loud as it.
Turning down the heat just a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely softens it.
All right. Well, everybody out there, comment on what you'll be looking for in these two charts, the differences, and hopefully we ask the right questions and help you come to your conclusion. And then you can even comment your guesses before you get to the end of the episode. We'll trust you, whether you say you got it right or wrong. Sarah, any other important information that we should keep an eye out for?
No, just excited to meet our guest.
All right, everybody, go get those charts from the website, or if you're a detective level supporter, you've already got them in your email inbox and you're ready to go. So we'll be right back after this break with our guest. Hey listeners, we're not just a podcast that tests astrology, we're an independent detective agency. That means we rely on you to help us keep the show running.
Exactly. By joining AstroDetectives on Patreon, you can support our mission to finally prove astrology is real.
Or, completely debunk it.
Here we go again.
One thing we can agree on, AstroDetectives is the only place you'll find astrologers and skeptics working together, like a buddy cop movie you didn't know you needed.
And trust me, detective work takes time, gathering evidence, late night stakeouts, solving cases, especially when Mercury's retrograde.
Okay, you can't blame Mercury.
The first step is easy and free. Just follow Astro Detectives on Patreon to get access to our debrief episodes where the conversation continues after each case ends. We break down what went right and what went wrong.
And if you want to fast track your training, become a rookie detective for only $3 a month. You'll unlock exclusive bonus episodes, plus early releases and the top secret case files sent straight to your inbox.
Or for just $1 a month, we'll make you an Astro intern. No compensation per se, but hey, you'll gain valuable detective experience and that warm, fuzzy feeling knowing you're helping us keep the lights on.
So if you like what we're doing and want to support us, head over to patreon.com/astrodetectives and join the investigation today. Welcome back, everybody. We are joined this week with our guest, Sergey. Welcome to Astro Detectives.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
We're happy to have you. Can you tell us where you're joining us from right now?
I live in Virginia, southeastern Virginia. There's an area called Hampton Roads. It's a bunch of little cities.
All right. In Virginia. We noticed, though, originally, like your birth chart, we get to see the location. Originally from Ukraine?
Yeah.
Can I ask what brought you this way, or how was that transition for you?
Well, I don't know if you know the rules of how you can move countries, but I guess America does a little lottery for a certain amount of people who can move here legally from a certain country. And I guess my aunt won that lottery at some point, and then she was able to use family ruling to get us to move as well. So I moved when I was a teen.
Okay. Was that a difficult or easy transition, or how did you feel about, coming from a place that you knew well growing up into a completely new, I assume, completely new environment?
Yeah, it was exciting, I would say, because for some reason I had the unhappy childhood in Ukraine. So it was good, it was exciting, but obviously I didn't speak the language, so I had to learn the language at school. I can't imagine how it was for my parents because they had to work, right, for a living in a country where they also didn't speak language, so that was tougher for them. But I'm very thankful for them bringing me here. I definitely enjoy living here more, especially with what's going on in Ukraine now.
You don't have to get into too much detail or whatever you're comfortable with, but you said kind of a difficult childhood. Could you kind of point us in the direction of where was that coming from? Was it school? Was it family? What makes you say difficult?
So part of this probably the just political situation in the country. It was a difficult time. And I was just a kid. So I didn't really have any power during that. I kind of just remember this cold, dreary place that I did not enjoy being. Of course, if I think of good memories, there are some, but overall, my impression was bad. And I don't want to tell it to my dad, he gets offended, but I don't know. That's the way it was for me.
Yeah, he's of that generation that says you don't complain about what you've got, right? It could be worse.
Or he just has a much better, he recently moved back there, so he has a much better view of it.
You mentioned both of your parents working. Can you kind of talk about their careers, what they did, and what they're like, if you want to get into personality a bit?
Sure. So they're both very smart. They met in college when they were studying to be engineers. And I guess that's where they had me. So once again, kind of a difficult choice. But my mom is more loving for sure. She's more industrious and quite thrifty. On the Minette side, I guess she has, I would say, low self-esteem. She accepts kind of mediocre situations and invents excuses to make it sound like it's fine. And she works as an accountant now. My dad, I have a lot of respect for him. So something of the way he raised me, I guess, rubbed off that way. But he has trouble expressing love, I would say. He got into programming, so I actually followed his footsteps for my career. And the other, I would say, outstanding thing about him is he gets kind of like into a country, gets really excited about it. And then after a couple of years, he realized something's wrong with it, or his dream wasn't quite as good. And then he moves countries. So he's moved, Ukraine, America, New Zealand, back to America, then Bulgaria, and now back to Ukraine. So that's a lot of moves for somebody. And hopefully he'll settle finally.
And you said you kind of followed in his footsteps career-wise. Can you talk about what you do and what you like about it, and maybe what drew you to it?
Yeah, so like I said, I guess I remember thinking, all right, what am I going to do as I was finishing up high school? And my dad offered what he was doing, which is software development. So I got in computer science program. Went through it, and then, but some of my mom's low self-esteem or something rubbed off, I guess, and then it was a difficult time to find a job, or at least I was having trouble. So I ended up doing software testing instead, which is kind of a lower level of that. It still pays almost as much, but it's looked down upon at least a little bit by the programmers. But I like it because I get to find ways to break somebody else's code. So kind of like look at a system, pick it apart, make a strategy for kind of breaking it into little pieces and find ways to basically make it go wrong. But, it's mostly just to pay the bills. Like if I didn't have to work, I wouldn't do it.
That's interesting, breaking the systems. Can you expand on that? Is that something that in life? Do you kind of like poking holes in something or seeing if it can withstand a little bit of pressure?
Yeah, I think so. I find it so. My chief hobby is video games. Probably been most of my life, at least since computer games came into my life. And in there, I tend to like the ones where I can do stuff like that. So role-playing games where I can design the best character for defeating all enemies by leveling up the right way, or big simulation games where like I'm leading a country from medieval age and I get to make the right kind of alliances or geopolitical decisions within my country to sort of succeed. So yeah, I guess that is something that I find very interesting. And my mind always seems to need constant mental exercise when one of the other things I like is chess, for example. So mental exercise.
It's interesting. Some of the examples you gave sounded a lot like building, as opposed to destroying or breaking things down. Is that just a relationship where you like to build it up?
To become more powerful than your neighbors, I guess, is the way, or at least safe from your neighbors, or you shoot kind of over your potential. For example, like historical games. So say you take over Byzantine Empire, which was falling apart at the start of the game, and you try to protect them from the Ottoman Turks, who are a lot more powerful than you. So you have to kind of make the right alliances and stuff like that. So yeah, it is not so much destroying, although you can do that. I do tend to want to, in games, I guess, build better to protect myself better. But in my job, I do want to break the system. So either way, I want to learn the system, understand it, and that way I can do either one.
Now, if it was you in charge of maybe not even just the country, but the world, would you have a leadership style? What kind of a leader would you be?
I tend to make a better psychic, I think. I would probably prefer the advisor role to actually leading. Or if I was leading, then I would get a lot of advisors that are, pretty well educated in their field. And hopefully they would agree on the way forward. I know things are difficult in current political climate in the country now. So, I would prefer that the current leadership would do something like that.
Yeah, it's always nice to bring some people on board that know what they're talking about, and then keeping an open mind to listening to them. So it sounds like that's what you would do.
Yeah.
If we're kind of thinking about your personality, can we how would your friends or family describe you if we were interviewing them right now and said, "Well, tell us about Sergey"?
Well, it's hard to get past the ethnic bit, right? So I guess kind of like the guy from the 70s show was going, in my country. But I have thought about this question a little bit because I heard a couple of your interviews, and I thought maybe the best thing to say is like what I've actually heard them say to me. So a real straight arrow was one, a trooper, someone intense, a mind and body guru, and a black rock.
What does that mean?
So the context there was that I had revealed that I was dating somebody else in the friend group, and the person reacting was very surprised because she thought the lady I was dating was the shining light. And in contrast, I was a black rock. So
you're absorbing the light?
I guess so. I mean, there's some good stuff in the black rock, right? Like it's stable and stuff like that. And, if enough pressure is applied, maybe it'll turn into diamond. But it's kind of not reactive is probably what you meant.
Let's see, one or two more questions from me, and then I'm going to hand it over to Sarah, who, of course, is going to have some more specific stuff. But in general, are there maybe a couple examples of things that you feel like you're especially good at, and then maybe where some struggle areas are, just compared to, you think, the general population?
Well, I'm very intelligent, I would say. So that's probably an advantage. Very organized, determined. I have been like a black rock, like she was saying a while ago, but I had this big change in my 30s, early 30s, where I really transformed myself. So that's pretty rare from what I can tell. Most people kind of stay the same way. No, I had a lot of help with that, but yeah, that's something that is pretty extraordinary. On the negative side, I'm pretty bad at multitasking. I tend to get hyper-focused, and so the more things are happening at once, or the more I'm being asked of at once, my buffer kind of overflows, and I get kind of short and annoyed. So maybe something like that.
Mm-hmm. Any hobbies that you've been drawn to? Just, if you're not working, what kind of do you look for, to do for fun or relaxation or something that's gratifying?
Yeah, so video games has definitely been the one constant. Before that, I guess I had fantasy books. So as a kid in the library a lot. Some kind of escapism maybe, but definitely liked not so much the mundane, this world, but looking out to space or in the past or into fantastical realms and imagining that in my head and adventuring with that.
Interesting.
In my upper 20s, I guess I got into travel, which is also kind of like my dad bought me a ticket to Ukraine and I ended up wasting it playing computer games. And then a couple of years later, I decided to go on my own to Greece, and it was just a completely different experience. I was exploring everywhere. I was having a blast, really connected with the country and the culture. And after that, travel became a fairly big interest of mine. Of course, now with kids, it's very hard to afford. And, also not exactly, I can't exactly be doing everything I want when I'm going to do travel. But so that would be the big ones, I guess. Astrology got into it a little bit this year. I've even been getting into like astrological magic, which is fairly niche, but yeah, playing around with that, kind of trying to learn it and stay away from the strange people in that realm. Yeah, those are probably the main ones.
All right. Sarah, how are things sounding over there?
Good. I mean, I definitely have to ask some more questions.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
We would never ask you to do this completely blind with no questions.
I know. I'm not some of these I start off pretty like in one direction, but I'm a little kind of going back and forth. So,
I'm always curious to see where Sarah is drawn because, she'll get down to some specific areas and I'm thinking, oh, interesting. I wouldn't have thought to ask that.
Well, Sergey, you said in your 30s, you said you like transformed yourself. And I was wondering, like, in what way did you transform yourself?
Yeah, I guess it started with the death of my brother, who was quite a bit younger than me. He got into drugs and passed away. And we were the only two siblings in the family. And I was very, let's just say, good at staying single up until to that point, and he wasn't. So I always had in the back of my mind, is like, well, it's okay if nothing really like that romantically happens to me. He'll, make sure our family keeps going. But then he passed away. So that was a bit of a wake-up call. And then I realized I had to fix the problems of, within me that were keeping me back. And I guess I thought it was a skill problem at that point. So I went to these weird, player guys. And the only thing that resonated with me from them was this hypnosis session where he was trying to, bring out my self-confidence. So after that, I realized that's really where what I needed. I went to a hypnotherapist for a couple of years. After that, she helped me some, and definitely felt like I was on the right path. And then I was exposed to somebody who was teaching neurolinguistic programming. It's a sort of a therapy thing, but basically there's all these therapeutic procedures you use to go back and past imaginary wise and then heal up the issues that you had from the past misunderstandings that caused you to pick up some kind of bad decision. So it's sort of a way to reprogram your subconscious. And that really after I went to his course, I was able to completely break through, and suddenly I started having romantic success, self-belief. I had to also learn the skills, so I go into Toastmasters, if you know what that is, to learn public speaking. So it was kind of a positive feedback loop everywhere. Started dressing better. Yeah, that's the way I guess I would say I transform myself.
How do you
Okay,
feel about, sorry, I want to jump in with how do you feel about public speaking now, or if you're on stage?
Well, I don't do it regularly anymore since I've had the kids. But started out being really difficult, obviously. After a while, it became kind of a adrenaline rush. So it's still kind of scary. But it was also felt really good to succeed at it. In general, I guess I'm kind of success driven. So I like succeeding at things, and public speaking was sort of one of the ways.
okay. Yeah. So basically, it sounds like how you transformed yourself was you became more confident and just working on skills and relationship and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, my friends definitely noticed. Like, I just have started having different results, but you'll also see by the way I dressed and acted and even spoke that I was a bit different man. But obviously, you can't change everything about yourself, or you probably don't want to. So I fixed the things that I thought were broken.
Okay. All right. So, what are your favorite? I think Scott asked you like what your hobbies are, but what are like your favorite topics to talk about with people?
Depends what they're into a little bit, right? So like things I'm interested in, like history, space, video games, travel. So usually people are not going to like all of those.
Okay.
Hopefully they'll like one of them, and then we can talk about that. Yeah, fantasy books. I play Dungeons and Dragons. Sometimes that's a connection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you a risk taker?
Not really. I would say no. I
Okay.
prefer safety, especially in economic sense, for example.
Okay.
I remember actually being very impressed by people who run their own business because it felt like a superpower I didn't have. Just being comfortable with not having something constant of an income.
Now, how much safety economically? Because there are those of us that have had money in a high yield savings account for these past few years because we didn't know what was going to happen with the market, and then missed out on some gains. So do you invest it in stocks? Do you say, I'm going to be very conservative and go in bonds? Are you in a savings account? Break that down. Just I'm curious about these things.
There's a economic strategy I follow called Bogle hats from somebody named Bogle, where it's basically, it's like a combined account where you put into like a group of stocks. And it's usually tied to the index. And it just grows on its own. So leave some money in it every month if you can for a couple of decades, and boom, you're there. At least that's my strategy. Obviously, you need to be being able to put money into that, so it's been tougher with the kids now. But yeah.
All right. So moderate and consistent investing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't invest into like Tesla or Nvidia
You didn't throw it all into Bitcoin?
No. Obviously, if it was really early, it would be nice, but no.
Okay, random questions. Do you have a sweet tooth?
No, I don't really like sweets. I like fruits. I like berries a lot, and I like those kind of sugars from berries and fruits, but I don't like sweets in general.
What do you like to indulge in then? Do you drink alcohol, anything like that?
Yeah, it's beer during dinner. It used to be a bigger thing. I had this friend group back in San Diego that every Friday night we go down to the pub. So yeah, beer.
Was that ever something you struggled with?
No.
Okay. What are your pet peeves? Like what gets under your skin?
Um, well, like I said, I get overwhelmed when there's a lot of things going on. Otherwise, I guess just unreasonable people annoy me slightly. Um, because I try to be reasonable, but yeah, but I don't know. I'm kind of hard to make really annoyed. If I hit up, I usually cool down really quickly. And I guess in general, I kind of control my emotions pretty well. Plus,
Okay.
now through NLP, I have techniques to where if I really have a strong emotion, I can actually do an exercise.
Okay. Yeah, how do you express your anger when you get really angry?
So really angry is pretty rare. I know in my relationship, every once in a while, something happens, but my wife doesn't really tolerate. She just tells me like, "Don't yell at me," and I have nothing to do but walk away. I mean, there's no room for maneuvering there. So yeah, suppressing, I guess, the emotions if I really have them, and then I process them later to figure out, all right, well, does she have a point? Or what happened? How can we meet in the middle? And that sort of stuff.
You mentioned there was an exercise that you would do. Can you describe that? Where you picked it up and how effective it is?
Yeah, it's through NLP. I remember the most obvious example to me was I was flying to Peru, and I was at the airport on the layover, and I was talking to some girl, and I guess after a couple of drinks, kind of lost track of time. So I pull up. Well, I also misunderstood when the plane was leaving. I thought it was the boarding time and the flyaway time. I confused the two. So I get there, and the gate is pretty much closed, and they look at me like, "All right, fine, go in." So I go sit down, and the stewardess comes up to me and says, "The entire plane was waiting for me." And I felt this like terrible guilt because I'm a responsible guy, and that's that stuff. And so through NLP, there was this exercise where you kind of go through. I don't know if I remember it very well anymore, but I guess it's you find the higher cause of, I guess, like the why you're feeling what you're feeling, and through that you walk away from the emotion of it, and then you're able to like see like, all right, I see the logic in it, but I don't have to feel the way I feel. It's not really necessary, and then it kind of releases.
So pulling yourself out of the emotional experience and looking at it more analytically was helpful.
It's most of it is, yes, like you're changing your viewpoint and your imagination, and or pulling yourself back to when it happened and seeing it from different angles. So like you go into the other person, go up above, be like a fly on the wall, see it from all the angles, and then you get a much better idea of what's really happening, whether emotions are really necessary, whether even if they are necessary, what will happen if you remove yours, and often the entire argument falls apart.
Okay. Now, can I ask you about your health? Have you ever had any major illnesses or conditions or surgeries or accidents?
Yeah, so I only had one. It was a genetic condition with my heart. I had this thing on my heart that would send a second electrical signal, and then it would get out of sync and make my heart beat twice as fast as normal for the entire day. Fortunately, with modern medicine, they actually had a surgical procedure where they went in through my vein and burned it away. Haven't had that problem since. Much relieved.
Oh, good. Okay. Have you ever had any like minor issues? Like, do you get sick with the flu ever? Are you like very resistant to disease?
I'm pretty resistant. I don't get sick a lot much. I mean, every once in a while, like I get injured at the gym. This I'm getting slightly older, so it's a little bit easier to do.
Can you be specific?
Well, this year I had this. So I'm so driven sometimes to like sort of improve myself that I was doing like 280 pounds lifting with my legs, and then I so close to the max weight, and I went to the max weight, and I lifted it, and a couple of days later, like I couldn't walk anymore because I guess something got torn between my hip and and it was a terrible time for like a good month. But I don't think it's astrological. There's just.
You said torn something perhaps in your hip or stretched the muscle or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I went to the doctor about it. They said it was some kind of joint dysfunction was the official diagnosis.
Okay. Let's see. Do you have issues with like dehydration? Anything like that?
I mean, my wife keeps telling me that I need to drink more water. Probably, but not that I'm aware of per se.
Have you ever had any breathing issues?
No. Maybe some skin, like itching stuff. My dad has eczema.
Oh, eczema? Okay.
Yeah, so maybe I got a little bit of that. I don't know. But not really. Yeah, I'm pretty healthy.
The water would help with that. This show is sponsored by water. We recommend everybody go get yourself a glass.
Yeah, I got some here.
All right.
Can you tell us a little bit about your wife?
Yeah, she's very loving. She's a good mother. I would say her outstanding feature is that she is very adventurous. When she was young, she would travel the world all by herself in like low development countries, so like Southeast Asia, Central America. And she was a tour guide, and raft guide, so a lot of water sports. And she loves traveling probably even more than I do.
What drew you to her?
There was, it was a funny story. We got like 2 chances to meet. We look a little bit alike. It's just hues of our hair and facial hair for me, I guess. And a common friend was like, "You guys should try to meet." And so I reached out to her Facebook. Back then, Facebook was big, and something just kept happening. Like we couldn't meet. So I was like, "All right, well, this girl's not interested." Whatever. And a couple of months later, another common friend, I guess, was having a party at his house, and I was like, "Wait, what? She's coming?" And we went there and we talked, and we hit her off right away. I guess I should mention she also has health issues and a lot of trauma from her childhood. It wasn't what attracted me, but it was a big part of her.
Okay. Let's see. Let me make sure I asked all my questions here. So you mentioned like the video games you play. You said you liked historical games. Is that what's the reason for that? Do you like, is there a lot of strategy in the game, or is it just learning about history?
So I think it's because back in the Eastern Europe where I'm from, they glorified like the ancient Greek civilization, probably because of religious reasons, because they're Greek Orthodox. And I think that's just rubbed off on me. And I went to Greece. I was like, "Wow, here I am at Temple of Apollo or wherever, there's this gate to this and just all the temples and all the history and there's, games." And I'm like, all right, well, I know this character, and I kind of try to imagine also like, what if this general had defeated Rome back then? Would we even be today at all? How would the world change, So part of it is kind of fascination with that time period specifically. So I don't like the more modern history as much, but yeah, also like some of the best games seem to be kind of set in those type periods.
Okay. What other types of games do you tend to play?
Yeah, so other than that, I do like those role-playing games. So basically usually set in fantasy worlds where you're some class and some level, and then you try to fight enemies, play through the story. And the story usually makes me play through once, but if the system is really good to where I can create like 50 other types of characters and play them over and over and over again. And they play very differently, and I get to break the game in different ways. And that keeps me drawing in. So, those sort of types. Sometimes it's something as like you're in charge of a soccer club, and you get to buy the players and analyze them and see which one plays better than the other. Put them in the right kind of formation and have them go play their matches and hopefully win the league or whatever.
Okay. All right. Well, is there anything else that we missed, Sergey, that you think we should know about you?
I think we hit the main parts.
Okay.
We'll see.
That midlife transformation is the most interesting to me, because like you were saying, it's rare that somebody can make big changes after you've established a lot of habits for so long.
Yeah, that's true. But, great need drives great change. I guess, at least for me, I was lucky to find methods for change, because I think a lot of people want to change, but they struggle with finding something that works, because therapy can take years, and I don't know how effective it is. And, some of the stuff that works is fairly niche, and a lot of people dismiss it before they try it.
That's a good motto. Great need creates great change. Any other mottos that you kind of live by?
I don't know.
I mean,
it's not so much about statements, it's just doing it, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, sometimes a statement sums up a belief.
I guess. But no, I don't. Well, okay, so there is this one thing where I like to always be able to look at myself in the mirror and be proud of who I am. So usually it's more of in the moral sense, to where I know I did the right thing, and it doesn't matter how personally disadvantageous it might have been. But, like physically too, I guess. That's why part of the reason why I stay fit.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe I guess my last question is, do you feel like you need a lot of feedback from other people? Or is that important?
I don't think so. I'm very self-sufficient, I would say. In fact, I'm, like for decades, I was just kind of in my computer games. I didn't really care what anybody thought about it or such. If I'm trying to learn something new, then I'm not skilled at it. And yeah, obviously I need feedback. I don't know. It's a new world too. Like now there's AI. You can just ask AI for feedback. And it's very reassuring that you're doing everything right, even though that might not be the case.
Okay.
I can see Sarah. She's going to have to work it out now.
It's one of those situations where in one chart it feels kind of straightforward, and in the other chart it's like you could get there with A plus B plus C. So I'm like a little, I wish I could think of what would really clarify things for me.
If you're at a party, Sergey, everybody kind of plays different roles at the party. There's the entertainer, the instigator, the comedian, the person who's helping in the kitchen. What's kind of your role at the party?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm a wallflower, but get a drink, find one of my friends and chat with them is ideally what I want to be doing. If it's like I don't know anybody, then I probably observe, see who's sort of safe to approach and, who's approachable, I guess is the word, and try to chat with them, entertain myself. I don't know. It hasn't been in parties in a while.
I know, right?
It's a single person's game, I guess.
It's like the older you get, the fewer parties there are.
Yeah. Although my wife kind of hosts more. She's definitely the hostess. So she invites people sometimes. It's kids-centric usually, but there's parents.
Mm-hmm. Well, all right. We've got a lot to work with. Unless Sarah's got another question that she's got in her pocket.
I'm sure I'll think of them tomorrow morning, but right now I'm just kind of chewing on what I have.
Well, Scott, I guess for the motto thing, if I have to put it to words, it's make sure you do everything to to see that you're proud of yourself when you look yourself in the mirror. Something like that. Maybe the wording is better. But
Yeah,
that's the idea.
It's a lot easier to look at yourself in the mirror if you know that you did everything you could well and in a good ethical way.
Yes.
That's even longer than the way you said it. I was trying to condense it, and I did the opposite.
We'll work on it.
Okay, well, you're going to have a few minutes to work on it. We're going to put you in the waiting room. Sarah and I are going to compare notes, make our choices, and then we're going to bring you back in and see if we're correct.
Right, thank you.
All right.
Good luck.
Thank you. We might need it this time.
All right.
All right, Sarah.
Yes, Scott.
I was thinking, for this little huddle part, I could really see us making the case for both of them in this situation.
You could? Tell me your thoughts. Why?
Well, I mean, if you're waffling between both of them, I'm usually waffling between both of them, but I think it is fun to see how both charts could fit. That's always my thing. But I can give my initial impressions that you have more knowledge that you're working from, though. So the listeners might be more interested in how the two charts would fit for you, but I definitely have opinions.
Yeah, I think, part of the problem is I am really uncomfortable with that 29-degree ascendant, and I'm questioning it quite a bit. But, just to give an example of what I'm like, things that I'm seeing is, he talked a lot about fantasy and D&D and video games. And a lot of times that is, such a trait of a Pisces moon. Now, the other chart, that's in the Leo chart. And the Aries chart, though, has a Gemini moon with a opposition to Neptune. I don't know that that's the same thing, though, so I'm just kind of contemplating that. I don't think that's the same thing, but, sometimes, and that Neptune is making a square to his ascendant in that chart. So I don't know, there's things like that throw me off but I'm just going to have to go with the one that makes more sense to me. And you
don't have to give anything away.
Okay.
Because I was, there's difficulties with both of them. He didn't strike me as like an Aries. He wasn't like fiery, and he's not an instigator causing problems. He, felt bad about keeping people waiting on the plane, and, was very deliberate in the changes that he was making. And then on the Leo side, he takes care of his appearances, but that wasn't like natural. He made that change halfway through life. I say halfway, in your 30s.
Which it sounded like he was relating it to his Saturn return, which happens around age 29, 30, because I think he said like around age 30.
Mm-hmm.
So that Aries chart has Saturn in the first house. And so the return would have to be something about your identity and totally changing your identity and appearance and maybe taking pride in that. So these are like the different things I'm thinking about, as I'm weighing.
Because, the Leo, it wasn't like he naturally was a Toastmaster and comfortable giving speeches. It gave him anxiety. He was proud of being able to do it, but that's something that he had to work at. So both the Aries and the Leo archetypes, strangely enough, seem to not be like fitting him.
Yeah.
A lot of times you can find some way that they all fit. Like the Aries, he likes to break down, software. He's testing it. He's poking holes in it. So in that way, I was kind of drilling in on he's, a little bit of a destruction agent to see if there's issues with the software. And then
I mean, in the Leo, he's talked about history, and that's usually a big clue that someone is either a Leo or Leo rising, is they're drawn to history. But this Aries chart has Saturn on the ascendant, and I can see that maybe possibly being interested in things that are old, like history and uh the also heart issues, very Leo, but the other one has the North Node conjunct Mars in Leo in the 12th house. So, you know, this feels a little bit like a trap, you know? And I feel like this is where I ran into a lot of issues, last year is I would just go for the one that seems so obvious. And then sometimes it was the one where it was some of the aspects that I wasn't considering.
The aspects, huh?
Well, that's the relationship between two planets because, if they're aspecting each other, they modify each other and can bring in some energy. And so, anyway, all right, enough deliberating. I'm going with what I think, but I'm not going to be shocked if I'm wrong.
There we go. I'm going with what I think also.
Okay, and we should probably not just only hold it up. We should probably say it because I realize, we've got people who are just listening.
That's right. Some podcast listeners aren't watching the video.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm ready if you are.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
It's a Leo.
All right.
Once again, we're on the same page.
Now, did I influence you or?
I was waffling, but No, he works out too. I think he takes pride in his appearance, and he talked about looking in himself in the mirror, even if it's on more of a standpoint of am I proud of myself. But yeah, overall, I could see it being either one. But that's the skeptic's point of view. But let's find out if we're right after this.
Okay.
Hey, listeners, we're not just a podcast that tests astrology. We're an independent detective agency. That means we rely on you to help us keep the show running.
Exactly. By joining AstroDetectives on Patreon, you can support our mission to finally prove astrology is real.
Or, completely debunk it.
Here we go again.
One thing we can agree on, AstroDetectives is the only place you'll find astrologers and skeptics working together, like a buddy cop movie you didn't know you needed.
And trust me, detective work takes time, gathering evidence, late-night stakeouts, solving cases, especially when Mercury's retrograde.
Okay, you can't blame Mercury.
The first step is easy and free. Just follow Astro Detectives on Patreon to get access to our debrief episodes where the conversation continues after each case ends. We break down what went right and what went wrong.
And if you want to fast track your training, become a rookie detective for only $3 a month. You'll unlock exclusive bonus episodes, plus early releases and the top secret case files sent straight to your inbox.
Or for just $1 a month, we'll make you an Astro intern. No compensation per se, but hey, you'll gain valuable detective experience and that warm fuzzy feeling knowing you're helping us keep the lights on.
So if you like what we're doing and want to support us, head over to patreon.com/astrodetectives and join the investigation today. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you've made your choices at home. Sarah and I have. We're actually on the same page. Once again, we've chosen the same birth chart. It's always exciting. So we're either both going to win or we're both going down. So either way, I feel good.
There is a Mercury opposition to Uranus today, so that can be shocking.
You think we're going to get
Mercury retrograde? So I'm just like, I was prepared to be wrong and shocked, and I don't know.
Oh, great! So, well, listeners, if that's an astrological way of saying we're in for some excitement, stay tuned. Well, this time we were choosing between an Aries chart and a Leo chart. Now, Sergey, I'm hoping you are one of those. We're talking sun signs. Yep.
Yeah, I am.
This is the exciting part of the show. Sergey, are you a Leo?
I am. Good job.
Oh,
We're so amazing at this. I don't even know why we worry.
Sergey, the moment I saw you, like your face came on the screen, immediately you look like a Leo. You look like a lion, and so I was like, "Wow!" But then other things got in my head. So
yeah. Well, there's also today's guest placements and how they contact my chart too.
Oh yeah, I don't know if she was checking transits for today specifically.
It's a good idea to try because it was lit up today for me.
But we're going to get into all the specifics on now that we know which chart is correct in the debrief. And I believe, Sergey, you're able to hang out for that?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Perfect. Before we end this episode, is there anything that you'd like to pass along to our audience, anywhere that they can find you if you want to be found, or any recommendations that you want to make to them?
Well, not for me, but since I talked up NLP so much, I guess I wanted to plug in my old coach, just in case your listeners are interested in something like that. So his website is robertsantes.com without www. So it's spelled ROBERTSZENTES.com.
And was this part of the big transformation that you were talking about?
Yeah, his tools were really the main part of the break for me.
We love to see everybody's changes and their life story on this show. Everybody, be sure and tune into the debrief. And that's it. Let us know what you thought by commenting on whatever platform you follow us on. Links to our accounts are in the show notes. As always, thanks to Mike, our IT guy, and his random Chartifier thingy. If you like the show and want to support it, you can visit patreon.com/AstroDetectives, where this conversation continues on the free Patreon-only debrief. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube so you don't miss the next episode. Rate and review and tell your friends. And until next time, this case is closed.